All right, guys. I wanted to ask the question today, what happens if you're a really sensitive person, but you feel called to content creation? And this is something I've thought about a lot as a naturally sensitive person who is trying to publish a book, who's got a YouTube channel, who's trying to, grow this podcast. And I think that this is a relevant question for for anybody who's, different level, like we're all different levels of sensitivity, but I think a lot of us do care about what other people think and say to some capacity. And also, all of us have some interactions, or hopefully all of us have some interactions with other human beings, whether that's in a digital public sphere or in our friend groups and stuff. So this question of like, what happens when you're extremely sensitive? What do we do with this? Particularly when we're called to create something and to share that with the world. Like, how do we post YouTube posts if those hate comments are going to derail us? Or how do we make a book when we have to, that means we're going to eventually have to deal with bad reviews? Or, even how do we start a conversation in the online sphere through a podcast if people can say anything they want back? And it can be pretty hurtful. This is something, so I guess I just wanted to share about this and talk about this because I've been thinking a lot that there about different ways to balance this sensitivity that we have with boldness. And I guess I want to look today at three things, three ways to kind of remove the power from the haters, and three ways that sensitivity actually is a superpower in the creative sphere, because I really think it is. And I think, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that today. Of sensitivity is an incredibly powerful tool. So rather than be like, toughen up, today I want to have a conversation about let's make this actually work for us. Let's get past the haters and let's find a way to make the world a better place through the natural sensitivity of our hearts. So that's what I want to focus on today. And number one, first off, I want to look at three ways to take power from the haters. Number one, it's a them problem. And I used to think that this was a cop out, like, oh, they said that mean thing about you. Don't worry, it's just them, it's not you. And no, this, as I've grown older, I've realized this is so insanely true. And there's a lot of freedom in that. So, for example, there was one guy that my sister and I met, and he's very friendly, and we were very friendly. But almost the instant he met us, there was a huge wall up, and he was not always very kind, and he was, very kind to other people. He was very welcoming, but for us in that friend group, he had a huge wall up, and he would make little comments to us. And I remember being like, what is wrong with this? Like, what's going on? And it's easy to feel like it's a you issue. Like, did I say something that I wasn't aware that I said? Is it my ethnicity? Did someone start a rumor about me? Like, all of these things. Is it my age? I was like a little bit younger. Like, I was like, what's going on here? There was a ton of variables that it could have been. Um, but at the end of the day, kind of letting go of that and being like, all right, I don't know what's causing this man to react like this, but something's going on. And I had other mutual friends who got really close to him, and they shared a little bit about how he'd been bullied a lot in high school, and it had been pretty painful for him, and kind of shapes the way he interacts with people. So I am not positive, but little things that he has said and they have said combined builds a very strong case for my sister and I may have looked a lot like those bullies that he faced in high school when he was younger. So in this case, like it does not justify some of the things that he said to my sister or myself. Being unkind is unkind, and when you're an adult, you should, not be saying unkind things to people who remind you of your high school bullies. But but it took the sting out of a lot of the words because I understood he is dealing with his issues. I don't understand what that felt like. He's dealing with things coming up to the surface again that he hadn't had to deal with for a while potentially, and he's got his own wounds, his own pain, and so I can sympathize with him. Still put walls up, right? We're not going to chat with him and let him say unkind things frequently, but putting up walls is okay. But understanding that it's not about me, it's about his own journey. And this shift of saying this isn't a me problem, this is a you problem if you're unkind to me is so powerful because it shifts the narrative completely. So, for example, the first one of the first YouTube comments I got was just the word cringe. And to be fair, like I still get nervous in front of the camera sometimes. Like it's a little bit nerve-wracking. So it my delivery might not have been as smooth at that point in time, and that's fair. I don't really know if the commentator, that random person on the internet, was critiquing my deliverance of the lines or if they were critiquing something that I said that maybe triggered them. And honestly, I'm like, you're a stranger on the internet. Like it is not my job to know where this trigger is coming from. Like, is my delivery really bothering you? Is my content somehow hitting a nerve? That's a them thing, right? That's their life. They have to deal with it. They have to figure it out. I hope they feel better soon. And if my content can kind of help bring some healing, even if it digs some things up, if it brings healing or joy in any way, that's great. I'm happy with that. So, to be fair, sometimes comments can help us better understand a situation. So sometimes hurtful comments are not hate comments, they're helpful comments. And so it's important to look and see like what's the intent, what's going on here. It's fair to analyze that still. So like, why is this person saying this? Did I say something wrong? Is okay, it's good to kind of be self-aware like that. Or okay, this person said cringe on the video. Do I need to work on getting a better, smoother delivery on this? I don't know. So it's helpful and it's okay to kind of take what they say, look at it and examine it and say, do I think I need to work on this? That's great. But take it with a grain of salt because genuinely unkind comments often just come from a place of pain that person is processing in their own life. You can feel bad for that pain, um, but not, you know, like internalize what they've said. I don't walking around being like, I'm a cringe person, because it's just that's not helpful. So actually, what's been really helpful for me is starting to learn body language analysis, and work on kind of honing that ability. This has been really fun, actually. I've been studying some of the FBI study guides, or not study guides, but FBI insights on like how they read certain people because it's fascinating, you guys. There's so many people with facades right now, really tough pasts, and they have these tough facades then like these masks on that they are trying to keep up really intensely because they're hiding their inner child. And for me, this really helps me shift the focus of like, it takes the focus off of me. Like, how do I feel? I don't want them to hurt my feelings. And it shifts that focus onto them. Wow. I hope they are okay. I don't know what they are going through. I hope they find some comfort soon. And that shift takes that pressure off of ourselves. It makes the words, for me at least, it makes the words not sting so deeply. They're still getting boundaries. Don't get me wrong. If you cannot speak kindly to me, you're not going to hear as much from me because we're not having as many conversations. If every time we try to hang out, you tear me down, we won't be hanging out very much. And if people are commenting cruel things on the internet, I'm not going to be responding to those things because it's not, that's me using valuable time on somebody who isn't using their time kindly. Um, And sometimes, guys, I just don't see comments and I forget to respond. So if I don't respond to a comment, I'm not saying you're an unkind person. I'm just saying like unkind people do get boundaries still, right? And that's important. But if we're a sensitive person who hears a remark that's unkind, it can be so, so helpful to us to remember that like it's not about us, it's about them. And that can shift to, having some compassion on them actually and wishing the best for that person and not letting it sting deep. And so that's yeah, it's more about them. It's a them problem. And it's a them experience and I hope it gets better. Point two is just remembering tea time. So we all have our go-to drink. Put yours in the comments. Currently, mine is lemonade. I love it. I know that's not even tea, but it is the perfect summer drink, and that's okay. In fact, or everyone has their own summer drink, and it'd actually be a really boring world if we all drank lemonade every single day and we're all like loving it, because then there'd be no no friend to vent about like or to rant about how awesome Earl Grey is, like the perfect cup of Earl Grey with a little bit of cream or whatever it is that they want. And content is just like that. We all have our own cup that we enjoy, and that's part of the fun of it. I had someone at a conference come over to my table once. They picked up my book, it's got a catchy cover, and they were like, "Oh, what's it about?" And I was like, "Oh, it's like a YA zombie novel." And this guy, he like nearly dropped it. He was like, "Bleh." And he was a bigger, older guy, and he was just like kind of like started laughing, like, "You have got to be kidding me," and like walked away. And he was shaking his head in disgust, like, "I can't believe I just talked to this girl." Um, it was like, very much the vibe was like, "Okay, kids these days, psychos, like YA zombie novel, bleh." So he was walking away with this expression of disgust, shaking his head, nearly had dropped my book. And I was shocked to find that like I was not bothered. Like I'm sensitive, I should be crying, but not. I was not. Because first of all, bro, you should see what my editor said to me. My beta readers and editors have been so helpful in like, giving me critiques that helped build the story. And it hurts seeing my baby get, have so many things that people are like, this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Um, but that helped me also just see that everyone's going to take things differently and everyone's going to have, yeah, their own experience that they're bringing to the table in that scenario. So that helped. Also, one of my close friends, I mean, she stopped reading my fantasy novel because she's like, I hate the characters so badly. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. I've been working on it for over a decade. I'd hope that the characters are good. And as a writer, honestly, I feel like it's my job to really listen carefully to any of the critiques that I get like this because um, it's valuable feedback, right? Especially when the person is an avid reader or an avid writer themselves. And that feedback is great. That could help me hone my story and make it much, much better. So it's actually a gift, but I also need to take it with a grain of salt. So let's talk like that YA zombie novel, for example. I have had people devour it in a single sitting, and then I've had teens actually reach out to me and say, "Hey, I just want to let you know these characters are really relatable. Like it was really helpful reading this." I've had parents reach out to me and say, we're actually going to discuss your book in the next semester because there are some themes we really need to talk about that you bring up in this book. Which is like unreal to me. This is so beautiful. And so there are people, yeah, who are like, oh, why a zombie novel? That's odd. Yeah, okay, it is. And it's built for a person, for the teen audience like the teens in the book that are I hope are relatable for some people. Not every teen is going to find this, my character's relatable, but there is going to be someone who does. And um there are going to be parents who can see that the deeper themes I'm trying to pull out within the story, and that is such a gift. So remembering like who's my audience has been super super important. I had one friend reach out and say like, well, I love these characters, and they were the same characters that made the other friend stop reading the book. But one friend felt so seen and so loved and was like so excited to get characters who she could relate to, where the other friend had to stop reading because she was getting driven crazy by the characters. I love both friends equally. They're both amazing. And it's okay. One of them loves that kind of character, one of them doesn't. And so it's really important to like look at who's talking and then ask myself like who is my audience? The older gentleman at the conference was not my audience, and the teens who reached out, and the friends who have like your character, the friends who say my characters are very flawed but they feel really relatable. That's I'm excited to hear that. um so yeah, it's nice to know like just to be really intentional about what kind of tea or kombucha or whatever you are brewing, because then you're able to relax when someone else chooses a different drink, even when they're really vocal about it. So yes, some people don't find Heart appealing, like my first novel, Heart appealing. That's okay. They might like one of my other books. I might just not be the kind of author for them. That's all right. There's other, I mean, I have plenty of experiences of wanting to like a book that's mainstream, like Mistborn, and not enjoying it. So, it's one of those things like we all have different tastes, and that's part of the fun and beauty of the world, and partly why we need so many writers and content creators, really, because we all have different ways of connecting with people. And the third thing I think that's really important when we're dealing with, being a sensitive person and how to remove power from haters is just remembering things are a little bit deeper than that. Identity goes deeper than whatever it is I'm doing at that moment. One of the things I think is our identity can get really fragile when it's wrapped up in one thing. So, for example, I've talked to a lot of athletes who have shared about how their identity is wrapped up in their sport. And I've seen this where, there'll be a coach who's insanely good at something. But if someone else comes along and they're really good at it, that identity kind of gets shaken a little bit. So having, their identity placed in one thing just naturally makes it really fragile. I've seen athletes who are like, I got an injury and I didn't know who I was anymore. I've seen girls who take their identity in being pretty. I mean, who doesn't want to be pretty? But then I've seen like if a guy doesn't flirt with them, they're shattered. And honestly, when we receive praise in a certain direction, it can help build this. Like, let's say we do a sport and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like you're so good at this. And we feel like our friendships are based off of that. And we, get admired because of that. Like it can be really hard not to take your identity in that sport because it feels like that's where you're getting the love, that's where you're getting affirmation. This is true with anything. Like writing, I could when people are like, "Oh my gosh, I love your book." Like I'm not saying compliments are bad, by the way. You can all say, "I love your book." That's fine. But sometimes when you get affirmed in a certain direction, it's really easy to say, "Wow, this is who I am. I am the um, this is what gives me value." It's fine to say I am a writer because I am a writer, but to try to find value in that, that's when we start running into problems. That's when we start getting puffed up in a way that's fragile. It's like a balloon where we start expanding, but it's really easy to pop because we're building our worth on something that is not stable enough for an identity to be built on. Um, so, yeah, the truth is our identity is a lot deeper than what we do. We have inherent value. We were made good. So, writing a book doesn't make me good. I was made good. Writing a book can help develop who I am, but that's not what's going to give me the value. Um, we're given the value by being made good, just who we are by a God who loves us. So, yeah, great gifts we receive, they're great to help us develop, but they don't provide value to our person. And I really feel like having a deeper experiential kind of knowledge of that helps make ourselves much less sensitive when people try to, when things go wrong or when things don't go perfectly. Um, a mistake I really see a lot of insecure people making is being really proud of something that they actually don't have full control over securing for themselves. So, for example, they'll be really proud of their face that they got from their mom. Like that they did not go in and earn a face that looked, better than the person's next to theirs or whatever. Or natural ability, for example, or creativity. They'll be like, wow, I'm really, I was born with soccer skills. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't, what did you do to earn that? Like, obviously hard work is great, but many of the things that we receive, like these are gifts. These are beautiful gifts. Beauty, strength, creativity. These things are awesome. They're good to foster, but they're not good to build an identity on. So I think when we're given gifts and we receive them as gifts, life turns into a party. It's like a constant birthday party. Like, wow, thank you, God, for this amazing, soccer gift I have, for the gift of running, for the gift of creativity. It gets to be just exciting when we see these things as gifts and we understand that we've been given something precious that we can help then develop, right? Which we can make our soccer ability that much more by the way we train. We can praise God and highlight, beauty even by doing makeup intentionally or skincare routine or whatever it is. We can hone and foster that creativity by writing, by blogging, by all these things. And this is so fun when you live life recognizing it's full of gifts. It just gets so exciting. It's a party, like I said, all the time. But if we try to build an identity on that, that's when things start to get really shaky because then anytime our strength isn't as strong, then it's sh our identity is shaken. Anytime we, hit writer's block in our creativity, our identity is shaken if we try to build an identity on these things. So to be able to understand, I think that this is really helpful to be like, okay, my identity is like who I am has inherent value. Is another, it's another gift I've been given. I've been made with value. But the gifts I can, expand and foster, those are wonderful things, but they can't, you know, they are not what gives me worth. And I think um it's exciting to think about all the things that we have. And um I'm excited for all these things. And honestly, I think this is an area I can grow in as well, of like remembering that everything is a gift and celebrating that more intentionally. Um, so yeah, but to keep, yeah, working on this area and growing in this area is a good thing. So if you are sensitive and you feel called to create something, it's just really good to remember hate comments aren't about you. Everyone has their own cup of tea, and we are more than our looks, our gifts, and what other people think about us. And okay, here's the cool thing. Being really sensitive to what other people think and feel isn't a bad thing at all. I could not write stories without deeply feeling and thinking about what other people are feeling and thinking. This ability, it translates into full-fledged characters with relatable struggles. I think that this helps me with interviewing guests on the podcast. I care a lot about what other people think, how other people feel, and it actually gives me the ability then to write in a certain way, to create in a certain way, and that's exciting. That's so special. So I guess now I want to shift from like looking at how do we remove power from the haters to how do we develop the power of sensitivity that we have within ourselves? And I think that this is a little bit counterintuitive. I don't know, for some people maybe, because um, for myself, I feel like I've seen sensitivity as kind of a weakness in the culture. People kind of see this as like, oh, you're a very sensitive person. Um, if someone is strong, if they don't care what other people think. And this is a really interesting take because in a creative space, it's just simply, it's not true at all. So how do we use sensitivity as a strength? And number one, I think we have to be attuned. Let empathy tell you what other people are feeling. Watch their body language, like I was talking about, learning more about body language. Um, you know, Watch that sensitivity where you're like, wow, that person is upset. Watch why are they upset? Look deeper. Um, that insight that you gain into the human condition makes you much more powerful creatively. And if you look throughout history at artists, musicians, um, any of like a lot of creative people, writers, a lot of creative people were incredibly sensitive. That's one of the like main things I remember learning about Tchaikovsky is that he was incredibly sensitive and he channeled that into his music and it's beautiful. We still listen to it today. So creative people, sensitive people in the past, they channel their energy into their paintings, their books. They make something that blesses people for years to come because they were able to be so attuned to the human condition. And so this is a gift. This is a gift that goes way beyond a lifetime of being able to look at somebody and say, wow, there is something really tender here. I'm able to feel it and experience it. And because of that, I'm able to create something beautiful. And so I think it's like it is such a good thing to be able to be attuned to the feelings of others, to be attuned to the human condition in a really intentional way. So rather than, being like, I don't care what people think, being like, I understand what people think. How can I better understand what people think? It's a shift that can really strengthen the creativity. Um, and it's a strength for our society to be able to have people who are able to articulate or somehow illuminate the human condition because they're sensitive to it. Whether that's illuminating it through a painting, through music that we feel in our souls, through our writing, that's a gift. So, number one, be attuned, be sensitive, be intentional about seeing, um, be intentional about connecting to the human condition. Um, Number two, one of the things we can use, how we can use sensitivity as a strength is by helping others. So, my sensitivity can translate into being sensitive for others. So, yeah, I might need to put up boundaries, like if a guy's being unkind to me or my sister. Um, I might need to put up some kind of boundary, whether that's saying, hey, I don't like being talked to like that, or, not talking to him as much. But I can also be gentle to him in conversations because I understand in a way that maybe not everyone does, maybe they do, but sensitivity can help us understand, like, oh, I see a wound in his heart. I do feel bad for him. I can speak to that in a certain way um, because I can see it. So it's a balance, right? Not taking crap, but also not slamming someone who's fragile. And that finding that balance is something I really think is worth pursuing. So realizing that sensitivity is a powerful mechanism to help us help others, is really a good way of thinking about it. And I guess number three is um, use sensitivity as a strength to not let people change you. I think, like I said earlier, we have inherent value by being by virtue of being who we are. That means we are going to be different than the person next to us, obviously. And being really sensitive can help, like feeling everything can help with self-awareness if we are intentional at looking at it, right? Being really sensitive, like, wow, I didn't like that. I felt when they said that unkind thing, I really felt that deeply. Looking at like, why is that? Why does that matter to us? And using sensitivity as a launch pad for self-awareness is quite cool. It's quite powerful. Um, and I think it is so important to keep this. I think sensitivity can turn to cynicism really fast if we let it. The world is unkind sometimes, it throws some heavy punches, and we can end up being like, I don't care what anyone thinks. That can be kind of a natural go-to, and it feels like defense. But where the real power comes in, I think, is when they can't change. They can't um, damage a sensitive heart past the point of like we get to keep that sensitivity somehow. We guard that. I think that's really cool. So caring about what people thinks or caring about um, being attuned, being sensitive still is incredibly powerful. So I guess in a world that pressures people to conform, your sensitivity can lead to self-awareness and you can fight for that self by staying who you are. So I'm going to try to keep sharing wonder with the world. Even if people say cringe, I'll just share some more wonder with the world because I think we need that. I'm still going to write my very emotional characters who some people connect with deeply, maybe some don't, but I'm still going to write that because I want to reach those people who feel the same thing that I feel, that my characters feel. Um, so yeah, it's beautiful. We have this opportunity, guys, to stay ourselves and not let them put calluses on our hearts. And when we stay ourselves, we can have massive impacts on those around them because so many people, there's so much pressure to conform all the time, to different, societal expectations. And right now, I think like being sensitive isn't always seen as like a societal golden good, but it can have a massive impact. And so holding on to that, I think will have an incredible, incredible impact on your art and your creativity, um, probably even our relationships, really. And at the end of the day, I think it's a really good thing to ask, like, why are we creating? Because that helps also build a deeper identity into um, understand, you know, why we're doing this, and then not letting other thing like guarding that mission. So why do we need to create things? And I think that this need for creating things reflects the truth that we aren't supposed to be alone. We are meant to share the joy of something that we've created. Like we are meant to bless other people. We are meant to we are meant to be blessed by other people who have shared things. And this is like such a beautiful part of like our human experience of when I paint something, there are certain paintings I feel like are not meant to just be kept for myself. They're meant to be given. And there are things that I have seen that I'm so glad the artist didn't keep for themselves and they gave. There are books that there is so in such an interesting feeling. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but like I have written books where I was like, it has to go out. Like I can't, it is kind of like having a child. Like I can't, it's the book is coming. Like it's not gonna stay inside. And I think it just reflects like we are meant to share things with each other. We're meant to have community. Books and music and paintings, things like this are community across the ages, really. Um, so for me, my why is because I've been given stories, and I've had the opportunity to have some incredible conversations that have blessed my life so abundantly. We're supposed to be generous with what we have. So for me to not share my stories or to not share the conversations at this point, it'd be greed. So like, and on the flip side of that, sharing stories that I've written, sharing conversations I've been blessed to have with other people, that's joy. And so that's my why is I have been abundantly blessed, abundantly generously given so many things to. I need to share that. And so really my book, Heart, for example, isn't my book anymore. It's yours. Or it's whoever wants to read it. And that's the same thing with my podcast conversations. Yes, I feel like I've been given a gift, but I also feel like it's not just my gift anymore. Now it's other people's. And that's been a really interesting psychological shift that I have noticed in myself of like, wow, this book is no longer mine. As you know, I published it. I didn't know what to expect. Like, what's it supposed to feel like when you publish a book? But that has been something that's been kind of growing of like, wow, I feel like it's not mine anymore. I mean, it's still like my book in the sense of I wrote it. It's my little zombie novel still, but it's not just mine anymore. It's also other people's. And the same thing with anything. Same with anything that I share with the world. So, yeah, I guess as a sensitive person who creates, I think it is so important to be really intentional about like not letting the haters have power, really using sensitivity as your own superpower, and then finding your why within that and being like, I'm going to create things while being sensitive without letting other people crush that part of myself and hopefully blessing them actually through that. And that ability to stay strong is actually such a strength, and it's such a beautiful thing for the creative space, like I've talked about. So I'll wrap up with this. What gifts do you feel like you are called to share with the world? What do you have that you are called to bless others with? What do you have what have you been abundantly given that you can now give to others? Because I'm going to tell you this in advance. Thank you.